Hey yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing my comic load for the week. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to read through everything. Stuff like Green Arrow, Cyborg, Weapon X, I still have to get through, but for the most part, I got a good chunk of it. It was kind of a small week, so not that many big comics came out, but we still have a lot to discuss. But before we get into that, I just want to give my thank you to my $5 backers on Patreon. Thank you to the Gay Comic Book Geek, Connor at OKayFabe. You can follow him at OKayFabe, and to Sammy Coppola of the Bat Brand on Instagram. So thank you very much to my backers, $5 backers. You guys are going to get my first movie review coming out of Batman Ninja. So that's going to be popping out to you guys a little bit later on this week. But we're not talking about Batman Ninja. We're talking about Batman, but not Batman Ninja, right? We're going to start where we always start, with a little bit of Batman in our life, with Batman issue number 46. And got the variant cover, of course. Have to have the variant. And this is a really nice variant cover. I love the jumping position, kind of Dark Knight Returns-esque with lightning bolt in the background. Of course, Catwoman floating in there. Basically, this is continuing the Gift story arc, where Booster Gold goes back in time, saves Batman parents because logically he thinks it works, to show what life would be like without Batman in the world, or the right Batman in the world, and that even though his parents died and it was sad, it was ultimately for the greater good. Kind of, in a weird way. Booster's logic in this story doesn't really work out as well as it usually does. I mean, Booster's kind of hot-headed. He's a little impulsive, but I wouldn't call him an idiot, and kind of acts like it in this. His ultimate plan in this particular issue is to find Catwoman and bring her to Batman, or in this case, just Bruce Wayne, and have them meet and have him fall in love with her and somehow jog their memory because, again, time travel. Some really good stuff about this. The art is nice. I think the final confrontation between everyone is pretty good. Well, not final confrontation, but the climax of this issue was pretty good. And in particular, I thought it was pretty gruesome in a fun way. Bad, I do think Booster's kind of an idiot in this story arc, and I have yet to find the point of this story arc yet. I don't know how it's going to build towards the wedding, but again, I'm going to reserve judgment until the end of the Gift story. But on the whole, this is an okay issue. This is one of the few things that I'm not in love with Tom King, but I'm still enjoying. So it's flawed, but it's good, so pick it up. So we'll go from there. Next is Nightwing. This is starting a new story arc, The Bleeding Edge. Nightwing is basically dealing with a hacker-ish individual who is using cell phones to blow shit up, as well at the same time using various different technologies to create holograms and various different illusions for people, and Nightwing goes to investigate this. Don't want to reveal too much on this, but this is classic fun Nightwing, right? It's not bombastic, end of the world, the city's gonna burn kind of stuff, although, I mean, terrorist bombers is still a pretty bad thing, but like, this is Nightwing dealing with a new threat that he knows nothing about, that's just kind of a street level threat, and it's really fun, and the dialogue in this is pretty spot on. And what I love about the art is the art has it's good art, but it has kind of a 90s feel to it, or an early 2000s feel. It's very reminiscent to the old Nightwing stuff. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. Great jumping on point for anyone who hasn't been reading Nightwing. Jump on here. I'm sure you're going to have a good time. Next is Avengers #1, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. So I was not going to pick this up at first, but I saw some of the previews and it looked pretty interesting. Basically, Thor, Captain America, and Tony Stark are sitting down and kind of talking about all the stuff that they went through. You know, Hydra Captain being in a coma for Tony, and of course Thor losing Mjolnir and becoming Odin's son. I've been out of the loop on all these characters for a long time. I don't know what was going on with Thor and Iron Man for, since the original Marvel Now relaunch. Captain America I followed up till the end of Hydra Captain, but I I've been off on these guys, and they're kind of talking with each other to get the band back together because it's what the world needs. And while this is happening, cosmic threats are coming from space, which tie into a previous Avenger team from way back into almost primitive time that deals with Odin, Phoenix Force. Like the Phoenix Force, but with someone else. The first Iron Fist, the first Sorcerer Supreme, the Black Panther at that time. So, and some other people. I think Ghost Rider. So basically, it's them going to take on a cosmic threat. What I like about this, that I really do like, is Tony and Thor and Steve just talking with each other, kind of having that friendship. They're almost like the Trinity of Marvel in kind of a weird way. I like the friendship and camaraderie that they have with each other. I thought the art was pretty solid, and the dialogue was pretty spot on. Maybe it's just because it's first issue, but none of the other Avengers really do anything. I mean, Doctor Strange and Black Panther kind of do something, but not really, and then it's just a bunch of whatever. I mean, literally, She-Hulk is just walking around. Something falls in front of her, and then she's like, you know what, maybe I might help out. This was a good issue, good start off. I will get the second issue, because it was enough to keep me going, but it is... it's not perfect. And I think it goes back to this, is that I get relaunches and renumberings, which is fine, but I hate teams breaking up and getting back together. Like, I'm okay if, like, something like Justice League No Justice, which is a renumbering, but it's still the same Justice League team, maybe with a few different members, but the team never disbanded. I feel like the Avengers disband every 5 minutes, so that's kind of annoying. But on a whole, it was a pretty fun romp, so recommend picking it up. XMen Gold number 27. So Colossus has been captured, and the legacy virus is trying to be remade using his blood and DNA. While this is going on, Kitty Pryde leads the X-Men to find Colossus. And holy shit, when did Storm have Stormbreaker? Is it the basically like Thor's hammer? When did that happen? On a whole, I think of the two Marvel comics that I read this week, this was the better of the two. X-Men Gold had some really solid dialogue, some good art, and a pretty coherent story that paces pretty well. And I think the villains, although I didn't care about at the beginning of X-Men Gold, are starting to get a little bit better, especially the mutant Sentinel, forget its name. But on a whole, this was a good read. Recommend getting it. Deathstroke number 31, continuing the Deathstroke versus Batman story. What can I say? Christopher Priest just does a really good job with Deathstroke and writing him, and has a good idea of how to approach a character. I have been loving Deathstroke series through and through for a long time now. The basis of this particular story arc is Batman wants to stop Deathstroke's mercenary ways. At the same time, there's debate on whether Damian is Slade's kid or if he's Bruce's kid, and there's a surprise at the end. A character that I did not expect showed up, and it was a great surprise. I really kind of enjoyed it. This was a solid read through and through. Definitely recommend picking up. Get the previous issue, Batman vs. Deathstroke. It's a fun story because here's the thing. It's my favorite villain and my favorite hero going against each other. And Deathstroke is like the only person that on street level that I'm okay with beating Bruce because Deathstroke's that good. But I really like to see the two of them fighting against each other. It's really great. And the last that I got to read was DC Nations issue 0. This is a 25 cents issue, but if you have a great comic book guy like I do, you get it for free. At least he gave it for me for free. It basically previews the 3 upcoming stories, the big stories for the summer: Justice League No Justice, Batman Catwoman's Wedding, and Bendis' Superman run. I kind of went through this. I really dug deep into the Batman Wedding one, which is just on the Joker, which has some phenomenal art in it. But all this is nice previews. I'm pretty pumped for the summer when it comes down to DC. I think, there's no big event like DC Metal, and I get it. Like, Doomsday Clock is still going, but that's kind of its own thing right now. Even though there's no big event for the summer, they have a lot of smaller events, which I think work out pretty well, and I could not be more excited for them. So that's the Comic Club for the week. Time to talk about my pick of the week. It really comes down to 2 picks, and going into this, I was going to give it to Nightwing, because Nightwing's such a fun book right now, and a good jumping on point. But I'm actually going to give the pick of the week to Deathstroke. After talking about it in this video itself, and literally just spur of the moment, I reminded myself how good this was, and how fun it is, and how entertaining it is. Deathstroke has been one of the most consistently well-written stories in DC for the past 31 issues. That's 31 issues with Christopher Priest doing a fantastic job on Deathstroke. It's kind of that unsung hero of comics right now, right? That you're getting all the publicity for the Avengers, and for Batman's wedding, and for all this stuff. And one of the best stories going on right now. I'm not saying those stories aren't good; they are good. But one of the best stories right now isn't getting as many publicity, and that's Batman versus Deathstroke, or really just Deathstroke. I mean, you come to the comic for Deathstroke. That's what you come for. Really great stuff. Really great. So that's my comic load for the week. If you love what I do, you can always follow me on social media. My Instagram and Twitter is down below. You can support me on Patreon, of course. That would be fantastic. If you support me, minimum of $1 gets you some exclusive access. And as always, I'll be posting videos throughout the week. So with that said, this is Andrew saying peace out for now.